people. It is me, Dr. E, back for another heart to heart. I was rushing today, like I had to put on my nail polish and do all my stuff, but we have another fabulous guest today. Sally Hassan is going to be with us talking about the power of tarot for self-healing. And I don't know how many of you all have worked with tarot cards or seen a tarot card reader, but she is going to come on and give us some. Hey, Stacy, what's up, Miss Lady? Have a little chit chat. Okay. Sometimes it just takes that thing a little bit of time. Hey, Sally, what's up?
Hi.
How are you today?
Very good. It just started raining here in New Jersey, so it feels very calming because there was a lot of construction going on outside, and I was really hoping that that was going to go away. And then it just started raining, and they're all gone.
Look at you. That's your magic. You manifested. That's what I'm gonna say. You manifested it. You was like, okay, construction people be gone, take away the noise. Like we don't need no more.
Yeah, yeah. It feels very magical indeed.
That's it's actually, it was raining here a couple of days last week in Atlanta. And then last night, right, Stacy said you willed the rain. Yeah, and it was like so windy last night. I was like, what the heck is going on? I was telling my boyfriend, I was like, look outside. It looks like a tornado. I don't know what's happening. But either way, we're going to hop to this conversation because you kind of already alluded to it. We're going to be talking about tarot for self-healing, magic, all this stuff, because the name, you know what? I'm going to start out with this. How did you get the name of your business, your entity, Sailor Tarot Magic? What does that mean?
Oh, that's actually a very interesting story. Thank you for asking, Elmira, because I feel like it's evolved from when I first started to now. Um, so I opened my company like officially in July 2021, and it was a no-brainer for me to use Sailor Tarot Magic because number one, I'm a huge Sailor Moon fan, and that's something that has stuck with me for a very long time, like my entire life, really. So I watched the anime. For those of you who aren't familiar, Sailor Moon is an anime that it's called a magical girl series. Like that's the genre, and they're all based on different planetary powers, which is very closely related with astrology, like Sailor Mars being fire, Mercury being water. Like it's very closely aligned with astrology and what the planets represent, so to speak. And me not knowing about that as a young person, but having it be a part of my life is what I find interesting. And then later on, as I got older, I was big on Halloween, so I dressed up as the characters and, did cosplay for a while, like did the conventions before finding tarot as healing. And then once I decided to do tarot as full time and make a business out of it, I noticed that that was still very much a part of my life and did play a part behind the scenes in my healing. So I wanted to still bring that in. So Sailor Tarot Magic is a play on words. One of Sailor Moon's attacks in the very first season is Moon Tiara Magic. So I wanted to play with that and make it my own. So I did Sailor Tarot Magic, being that it was always sailor, and then the next word being where their power comes from. So I felt
Hmm.
like I found my power within tarot. So I wanted it to be Sailor Tarot, and then magic was just the word I added on because magic plays a part, and that's like the unexplained part. So I wanted to make sure that was still in there.
That's like super cool. And it's almost like you had this inner knowing from watching that anime series. Now, here's another thing you alluded to. I want to get to this. You said something about tarot being where you got your power from, like healing power. What was that path for you specifically? Like, how did you even discover tarot?
So that was actually very wild because when I first started healing, I didn't even use tarot as part of my practice. I had just, done meditating and learned about unblocking my chakras and putting up a shield to protect like my empathic senses and abilities. And I was doing really good with that. But once the pandemic happened, I felt like I needed something more where I wanted to help heal others, but there was a lot of like obstacles and blockages where I felt like, okay, I have a filmmaking background, so I'm big on video production. I had produced my own web series, and that had been my job before doing this. So I used that to do tarot videos online, much like how we're talking here, doing readings on my Instagram live for like all the signs. And I was just practicing that to learn the meanings of the cards. It was almost like an experiment to see where it plays a part. And then I was realizing it was very much a tool for self improvement, where it was telling me things like where I need to work on, where I'm blocked in certain areas. And I had no idea that it could be used for that. I just thought, at that point, I had just thought it was like for divination, but it's actually for a lot more, where it can tell you, um, yeah, where you're blocked energetically, where things like where your purpose lies, where your strengths are, where your weaknesses are, and that's like the big part when it comes to tarot, because I'll meet with clients, and a lot of them may be scared in the beginning, but I always tell them, like, if there's something that you don't like that the tarot says, know you have the power to change it. So that's what tarot helped me see, that the power is within me to evolve and see, like, oh, this is where I can fix, and it is up to me whether I want to change that or not.
How can someone change that? With that power, you just said if there's something they see and they don't like, they have the power to, how do they do that?
Um, so I always tell them, like, you have free will, and the universe speaks to us in ways. It's just a matter of paying attention. Like, it's always there. So specifically, I'll use a client that I met with yesterday for an example. Her blockages was, well, she ended up telling me, I was like, you are blocked here too, because this is telling me you have a lot of fight, but you're not using it. And she had said because she's using it for everyone else and she's not using it for herself. So that's
Mm.
like an example of how a blockage can be seen, because most people, they already know what their issue is when they come to me, and they're just looking for the confirmation, and that helps them act upon it. So a lot of it is like you already know, and this is just getting, another source of the knowledge from the source.
That's so fascinating about what you just said, Sally, because even in my work, and I've seen it with myself too, when I go to another healing practitioner, most of the time we already know. We just need that confirmation. In your experience, why do you think we need the confirmation or we even seek the confirmation?
I think because a lot of people in their healing journey, while yes, a lot of it is individual and introspective, it's okay to include others on the journey. Like, I know myself, me as a reader, it's so important for me to get readings from others, or um, see other type of modalities that are out there, because I feel like we all have like one layer or one slice of the pie, but other people can help make that whole, because I haven't gotten here without the help of others. I've done other people's workshops and courses and learned from them and built upon them. And I feel like that's me guiding somebody else. I mean, the little time, we spend together, but that's me helping them, guide them in the right direction of what their true path and purpose is, just like I've had that in my life with other mentors and guides.
That's so fascinating what you said because it's almost like completing a puzzle. So, because a lot of times we're doing this healing work, and I'm even sitting here, I got my self love book, I got all these books and journals and stuff that I'm doing. I can sit here and attempt to do all of this alone, but when I consult someone like you, I could go to a massage therapist. I could go get like tantric yoga. I could go over here and get the human design. And then I'm like, oh, now I know so much more about myself because I've gone to all of these practitioners. What do you say to the person who has tried all those multiple things, but they actually around tarot? They're like, I don't want to go there because that seemed like witchy. It seemed kind of like witchcraft to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I do I do get a lot of that. And in the beginning it was very difficult for me to like separate myself from that judgment. And I had to tell myself like, people have their own preconceived notion about tarot. It's been around for centuries. That has nothing to do with me. And like, the energy could be off or they could not be ready. But if they are willing to come to me, like the main thing that I say if they are fearful is, I would never like have you ask something that you don't want to know, number one, because there are certain things that we're just not meant to know. And then the other thing is, the time and our outcomes are
Mm,
constantly changing. So when you see tarot, like nothing is guaranteed. But again, if they don't like what they see, they have the opportunity to change the outcome because they have free will. It is their life, and this is just one possible outcome. And that helps them feel like they're in the driver's seat. It's not like tarot telling them this is what's going to happen. This is just one possibility. But again, the power is with them.
yeah, I totally love what you just stated. Like the power is within you. And I tell my clients that too, even with the self-love work after their breakups. What did you find to be the most healing once you ventured into tarot? Like what was that like thing that struck you the most and you're like, this is it. I'm learning, I'm growing, like this hit me. This is it.
Yeah, I really like that question. Thank you for asking, Elmira, because I feel like it's hard to feel that in the moment, but looking back, I realize what it is, and it may have been a multitude of moments. So something I combine with tarot is the full and the new moon energy. So there's always spreads that I look up on the internet that's like the full moon spread for, full moon in Sagittarius or Cancer or wherever it is. And there's a spread and there's different questions based on the theme. So I started using those and like looking at, where I'm at, where I've been, what I need to work on. And those have really helped me build upon, evolving my strengths and weaknesses, things that I haven't really been paying attention to. And it's, constantly changing. So using that, and then, I fell off of it. I wasn't really using it for a while. I just started doing it again. And then I realized, oh, like this is very helpful for me to realize, hey, I'm not paying attention to this, or maybe I need to work on that. And I call tarot like the brutally honest friend because they'll tell you just like how it is. It's like, you're doing this to yourself, or you need to take responsibility, or, you're letting people take advantage of you. Like, it's very straight to the point where I'm like, oh, yeah, I needed to hear that. And then once I start working on things, the message changes and it's like, oh, you did what we asked you to do. And I was like, oh, okay, so they can be nice. It's just about working on those things that, we may not like doing or we may tend to ignore or procrastinate on. So I felt like that's a nice tool to have amongst other things when it comes to healing.
It's almost like said tarot is like that brutally honest friend because we got some of them. I got some of them. They'll be like, Elmira, you know you ain't, you know you were supposed to do this, okay, and you ain't even listen. What
Yeah, yeah,
happens?
for sure.
What happens when we don't listen?
Well,
No,
I think that's
like,
well for me, I feel like that's like when people just put certain things away and they're like they don't want to hear it and then they'll come back to it when they need to. Because I know some people, they'll tell me I can't do a reading right now because I know exactly what it's going to say and I'm very in between places. And I understand that because the message can get confusing when for some when they're in like a transitionary spot and they already know and they don't want
mm,
that additional message. So I understand that. So I feel like one of two things can happen. Either somebody may find those messages in a different like medium, whether it be the universe, through signs and nature, or they just may learn lessons the hard way. And then it's kind of like that I told you so, because I feel like when it comes to the universe and lessons, it's not pass fail, but it's pass repeat. So they'll just see that over and over again. The hamster wheel is what I want to say. And that's also a really good question because it's like you're right, there are some people there they just they won't listen to it, and then it kind of happens over and over again whether they realize it or not.
that is, I can say that was something I was even challenged with in relationship, like romantic relationships is exactly why I teach what I teach. Because it was like, Elmira, you gonna learn this lesson again, like do the self-love work, and then you will be able to attract what you truly desire. But until then, I was dating all these piss poor men. Like, one, let me tell you, one, I just got to tell this one little snippet. This
Yeah,
one
sure.
I dated, like we had gone out on a date and he was looking under the table for gum and just like, I was like, what are you doing? It was a mess. Like, but I accepted that. So another thing about the role of tarot with self-healing is just that. What I was talking about, people I'm sure come to you about their romance. What do you end up telling them, or what has been like a recent occurrence, or even maybe for yourself? How have you seen tarot being instrumental in guiding someone with their romantic life?
So I haven't so much used it for myself on my romantic relationship, maybe like here and there, but when it
Mhm.
comes to clients, I've seen a lot where they're either trying to decide between two people and they're using tarot because I said, you don't want, tarot to run your life. Like you should still make that decision. But this is telling me, the past versus the future person to move into the future and let the past person go. And, they'll tell me that that's what they were feeling too. And again, wanted that confirmation. The other question I see a lot is people ask if they're fully over, their ex, and is it okay to, are they ready to have a new relationship? I
Hmm.
also see a lot of that too, and I feel like if they're already asking that question, then I feel the answer is yes, and tarot will reflect that as well. Again, people like having the confirmation. And once they get a reading, I feel like people are more trusting in their own intuition after it, especially when it comes to relationships, because a lot of that, like feelings and attraction, like we don't really understand that fully to a science. So I feel like a lot of people do use their intuition to make those decisions about relationships.
It is scary because it's almost like you said, we don't understand it to a science because there's this fear. I know I've even felt it within myself. What if I choose this guy and then I go down this path and my life is full of hell? Like, I really, like you see the worst, but, and then you're like, well, maybe I should have chose that guy and then this would have happened. It's like we always have choices though. How do you explain that to clients that they do have choices? Because I know that's something you mentioned here multiple times. Like ultimately, they are in control and tarot isn't running the show. How do you fully explain that to your clients?
So I basically will say, these cards are telling me XYZ, but again, I can't come to the conclusion for you. It is a decision for you and you alone, but I will tell you what I see and what the possible outcome is. Because even if, I say so and so choice isn't great, they still may need to go on that path and learn that lesson. So that's why I say, I'm not, the one to make the decision about your life. This is your decision and yours alone. I'm just going to give you the information that I see in front of me. But again, like when it comes to partners, even if it's, a not great partner or a relationship that won't last, that doesn't mean it's a failure because there may need to be a lesson in that.
Mm.
And a big thing I say is just because a relationship didn't last doesn't mean it's a failure because it just may mean that that relationship had an expiration date and it was time for you to just to move on to other things because you're both different people and want different things now.
Yeah. Do you find that's hard for people to accept? Yeah.
Sometimes. People who are more open, not so much, but people who like are set on certain things and have solid expectations on what they want their life to look like may have more trouble with that philosophy.
Hmm. Yeah, I guess there's all kinds. Like, I mean, depending on how open that person is to change, transition, and all of those, and understanding the lessons. Another thing I know about you, you do these readings on YouTube, correct? Like you do periodic. Tell us more about that.
But yeah, so the different readings I do on YouTube are based on the astrological season. So I kind of missed the boat on the Cancer one because I was coming back from vacation, but we're in Cancer season right now. So I would do it for fire signs, water signs, earth, and air. So depending on what your astrological sign is, fire being Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, water signs, Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces, air signs Gemini, Libra, Aquarius, and earth signs Taurus, Capricorn, Virgo. So I'll split it and do a 5 card reading with an oracle card. And I'll say like what the theme of the season is. So for example, Cancer season is very much about us getting in touch with our emotions and trying to work out conflicts in a healthy way and making sure that we are nurturing to ourselves because Cancer is the mother of the zodiac. So Cancers are known to be nurturing to others and maybe not so much themselves, and to give that love back to themselves. Because Cancer is also ruled by the moon, so Cancers can be very intuitive. So I'll do a split like message, very general. And you can watch more than one element if you know like your sun, moon, and rising. So I'll tell people to watch for their sun, moon, and rising to get a full picture because one general read may not hit for you specifically, but there may be another one. I know for me, like I'm Sagittarius sun, but Leo moon and rising, and sometimes the Leo readings speak more to me than the Sagittarius one, being that I have that overlap, the double, moon and rising in the same sign. So there's that. And then when it's the full moon, I'll do Aries from Pisces, 3 card reading for the full moon, and then talk about the theme of that specific full moon. And again, suggest that people watch for their full sun, moon, and rising. And that'll be a 3 card, so that'll be past, present, future slash advice. Yeah, and
Sweet.
yeah, so those are pretty fun for me to do. So it's an extra thing to put out there to explain what I do. And I also, for people who, are very like nervous about coming to me for a reading, I tell them, look at my channel, see how I do readings. Even though they're general, it's very similar how I do my format, when it comes to one-on-one. So they know like what to expect and what kind of questions they can ask.
That's cool that you're able to allow them to, like what they see on the YouTube allows them to sample how you work, because that's the thing in this healing realm with tarot, with massage, with intuitive readers, all of these different people who do all these various modalities, sound healing. You have to know how your practitioner works. Okay, I got a deep question that I just thought of because my mind, when you started talking about cancer season, because we're in cancer season,
Yeah,
maybe you thought of this, so I'm going to ask it because I'm being told to ask this question.
sure.
How does the cancer in astrology relate to cancer in the body?
So
Have you thought
that's,
about that at all?
you know, well,
I mean,
I'll be honest in saying that I feel like cancers in general, they get a bad rap because a lot of people, just societally speaking, today's day and age, are not comfortable with sharing their emotions, are not comfortable being public with about it. Like when a stereotype for cancers are crybabies. And from what I know about cancer and the disease itself is on for what we do, we know that untreated emotions can cause physical ailments. So again, this isn't like me researching, this is just my opinion from what I've seen. So cancer, between the astrological sign, which is very in tune with the emotions, and then cancer or any disease specifically being a manifestation of untreated emotions and or trauma, there is definitely a relationship of, if you don't treat this, it can turn into something else within your body.
so there is a link, and I saw Stacy there. She's like certified cancer crybaby. I love it. But you just made me, I love these revelations, and that's one of the reasons I do this heart to heart to get people. Number one, we're talking about cancers, being in touch with our emotions, being crybabies. Number one, I do this broadcast for that reason. And then number two, I do it to make people think, like to really examine, like, because sitting here talking to you, and soon as we were talking about cancer season, my mind just immediately went to like throat cancer, colon cancer, ovarian cancer. I'm like, well, hell, maybe there's some relation. I never even thought about the relationship between those two until now.
Yeah. Yeah, because cancers get a bad rap, and I don't know if it's because of the what they're called, their actual sign, or because we have such a bad relationship as a society with our own emotions and expressing them, because we consider somebody to be a crybaby to be a negative thing. But it really isn't. That means that person is in touch with their emotions, they're very sensitive and reactionary, and that's them expressing their emotions in a healthy way.
Do you see, Sally, any of that shifting? Because, like we said, the current is like, hey, we don't like crybabies. Do you see that shifting?
Slowly but surely, I do. Uh, I noticed when I talk to certain people, because a lot of people during their readings, they end up crying to me and they apologize. And I tell them, don't apologize. Like, this is what this space is for. And if they continue to talk and they may feel like they're talking for a long time, they'll also apologize for venting. And, I reassure them, like, this is what this space is for. Don't worry about going over the time. Like, if you need to go over something or understand something better, like, this is what this space and time is for. So I think that more and more people are looking for that, like, quote unquote safe space to be able to express their emotions a lot more than ever before, which I think is very much a positive.
It's as you mentioned that, I've seen that too, because get what I've been noticing when I host my workshops, because my workshops are seen as a safe space for people getting over their ex. I've had more men start to come to my workshop. As a matter of fact, the one I hosted just this past week, I think I might have had five just out of yeah, five out of close to 30, and typically it may be one. So yeah, this started, people are starting because we know, just like what we were talking about with the cancer and other ailments in the body, I feel like we're starting to understand we can't hold on to this. And then celestially, you're talking about the astrology and all of that. We can't. Like it's almost at a point in this age we are not allowed to hold on to those things anymore. Have you been noticing that too?
Yes, because you were talking about having more men in your workshop. When I first started, my clients were predominantly female, and slowly but surely, I'm seeing an influx of more and more men taking a percentage and being more open to let's see what the message is, and actually taking something away from it. And sometimes I'll even get couples that want a collective reading together. So just seeing more men being involved and more in touch with their emotions, I feel like shows us healing as a collective, that they're more open to that.
And I love it. I love seeing all of this because, that's my path. And that's what we're talking about today, because it all starts with self. If we start with ourselves, then we can see our family healed, then the community healed, then the nation healed, then the world healed, and
Yeah,
all of that.
yeah.
I do have one final question. With your own healing work, how has that impacted your immediate circle?
This might take a while, but I'll try to
Well, give
sum it
me
up
give
in
me
a
the
way.
Cliff's Note version.
Okay. So in the beginning, when I started my healing journey, I felt like everything was up in the air because I was changing drastically, and I was a different person come 2019 before I started my healing as to now, where I felt like my whole life could change. Like me and my husband, like he basically married a different person to who I was now, and I had to be okay with letting that go if he wasn't okay with who I was. Luckily, everything worked out, and he's very accepting of what I do, and he's even open to me giving him healing sessions and readings
Oh,
to
that's
improve on his life.
beautiful.
Yes, and I'm very grateful for that because, again, this is something that people need to decide on their own. They cannot be, forced into it or anything like that. But me being an influence, I feel like in a weird way, it has been my job to like heal the generational curses in my family. So, I just came back from Scotland where I felt like just me being there is helping people see that life can be different
Mm.
based on me and what I talk about and who I am, and just being around me, that I didn't even need to like sit there and throw cards at them, but just seeing me as a person, how I deal with day-to-day life situations and how I talk about certain things is just a good influence within the family unit that I was really proud of, how I did, because that was a very challenging trip, being amongst family that are very set in their traditional ways.
Well, you conquered it. Like you said, it was a challenge, but it was because, I want to say this, it was because of your own like inner work you were able to face them or say what you needed to say, have conversations the way that you needed to say them. All I've experienced that myself, so I know how it is with family. I do.
Yeah, yes. And there were certain times like I kept hearing spirit like say what you need to say and like speak your mind, speak your opinion. Where maybe like a year or two ago, I would just stay quiet and not say what I needed to say. But I was like, oh, okay, well, if you look at it this way, or if I were you, I would do this, and this is what I learned. And just so they have that perspective, so they know
Right.
that it's out there, and if they wanted to ask me, they can come to me.
I love it because you're just giving them an open invitation. You're not saying do this, do that, do that. Okay, finally, tell people how can they book a reading with you or get in some upcoming event because they need you. The people need you, Sally. Tell them how to reach you.
Okay, well, on Instagram, I'm sailor.tarot.magic. And if they would like a reading, they can DM me on Instagram or they can send me an email, which is the same tag, sailor.tarot.magic at gmail.com. I also have my link in my bio for my YouTube channel if they wanted to check out any of my readings for astrological signs. Um, since we talked about Cancer season, I'll put up a late Cancer season for all the elements.
I love see y'all even getting a gift. So make sure you all connect, get your reading, sailor.tarot.magic, same on the Gmail, y'all. And this has been beautiful. Thank you again for coming on to Heart to Heart. And I will see you all next Monday. Y'all have a
Thank you,
fabulous day,
Amara.
okay? You're welcome. Bye, everybody.
All right, bye.